Oh boy, in front of us we have a brand new autoloader arriving into Blitz. We've obviously seen a lot of cringe overpowered autoloaders, and this one, well, I'm not exactly sure what to think of it yet. It has some very overpowered looking capabilities, but also I have a feeling it's going to be very balanced out by the clipping time and overall armor. This is the ATAC. It is a Tier 9 American collector. And it's a vehicle that actually looks really exciting. And once you guys are done watching today's video, I want you to let me know your personal feelings, comments, and opinions about this vehicle down below. So let's start off by taking a look at the armor. It looks pretty good, right? You got the super steep upper plate that gets a lot of bounces. The turret's got a lot of angles. For a light tank, looks pretty well armored, kind of like another T92E1. Not really. That's just because the ATAC is shooting at it. Get like a 57 heavy, that's the armor. It's only a 35 millimeter plate, which means basically anything that has over a 120 millimeters is going to overmatch that upper plate every single shot. So lower caliber guns are definitely going to bounce that upper plate. Leopard 1, really any medium apart from higher calibers like the 122. They're going to really struggle on this vehicle. But in general, this tank has no armor. The turret is incredibly weak, and the hull is terrible as we can see. So don't expect to get too many bounces if you ever end up picking up this tank. If we make our way to the gun, this is where things get really interesting. So let's obviously fully equip the vehicle. Calibrated shells, enhanced gun lane drive, V-stabs, or not V-stabs, refined gun. That all should be properly equipped. We've got double food and fuel. This tank does get reticle calibration, but we're not going to be putting that on just yet because, well, it's only a limited time consumable. So let's start off with the first gun it has, a 6-shell autoloader, which does a clipping potential of 960 damage with a 1.4 second intra-clip. Okay, DPM's pretty low as we can see at 2382. And here's the interesting part. This vehicle has HESH, but its HESH pen is awful. Personally, I do think the HESH pen should be buffed a little bit. It's 160 millimeters right now, as we can see. I feel like that's pretty poor. I think if you're going to be in a tank that sacrifices everything for the HESH, it should get around 180 millimeters to 190 millimeters of HESH pen. That way you can at least cut through lower plates and, opponents' weak spots. But point being, it has a HESH firing gun. It does 160 base, and it does 200 with the HESH, which means that it can do a 960 damage clip with standard ammo and a 1200 damage clip with the HESH. It also has standard HE, which does even more damage as we can see. It has 49 mils of pen, but does a 1440 damage clip. So if you do get to the rear of something like an E5, I guess, an E5's rear is close to around 49, 50 mils. But, a Leopard 1 or anything like that, a Grill 15, you can get a really, really nasty high explosive clip out into. But in general, it does have a fairly long clipping potential, right? It's 1.4 seconds, which means that in total, to get out 5 shells, you're looking at like over 7 seconds to deal that 960 base damage. That's a long time. 7 seconds is really 2 shots for any normal medium in tier 8, 9, or 10. So do keep that in mind. Its aiming time is very quick, which isn't too surprising. Its dispersion is pretty good. Its overall on-movement dispersion is pretty average, and, its on-move turret rotation dispersion, pretty good. Overall, the gun seems fairly decent on its accuracy. Nothing, like, amazing, but not bad. It should be able to aim in pretty quickly and hit most of its shots, especially with that aiming time being really, really good. The top speed is going to be 65. It reverses at 21, and its power-to-weight ratio is pretty average for the light tank category. So in general, this seems to be a really, really interesting tank. Honestly, I can't say whether it's going to be OP or yet, and that's especially when we take a look at the other gun. So it has 2 different guns. It has a 6-shell and a 12-shell. Now here's the interesting part. The 12-shell gun has much less damage per shot, 70 less per shot. But as we can see, its intra-clip is only about, a tenth of a second faster. That's it. So it gets 6 extra shells, but the time that it takes to dump them doesn't really change. It's let me pull out my calculator really quick. So if we do calculator, we do 1.3 multiplied by 9. It's going to take almost 12 seconds to dump this vehicle's clip. Now you deal a lot of damage. You deal 1080, but Oh man, I don't think it's worth it for this gun. This gun's gonna have to be buffed if I'm gonna run it. Like, don't get me wrong, a 12 shell clip sounds really fun. It does do a little bit more damage. The DPM though is way less, as we can see. It's about 300 less DPM with the 12 shot. And not only that, while the hash clipping potential is a lot higher at 1380 versus 1200, really it's only 180 more damage. And in total, you have to spend an additional 4 seconds to deal that damage. Is it worth 4 seconds to deal 200 more damage? I don't know. That's a question you'll have to ask yourself, but it doesn't really have any better pen values. It's on movement dispersion, it's aiming time. None of the other values appear to be any better on this gun, which begs the question, why would you run this gun? Wargaming, if you're ever watching this video, I don't really see a reason why I would ever run the 12 shell. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm going to try the 12 shell clip. But at the end of the day, I don't really see a reason. I mean, sure, the standard HE potential, 1680, sounds great, but this does not seem good enough for comparison to the other gun. Personally, what I would do is I would give this gun maybe 2500 EPM to make up for the clipping time, or make the intra clip less. Make it like a 0.8, 0.9 second intra clip. Because right now what you're looking at is a vehicle that obviously sacrifices a lot with this 12 shell gun, and in return doesn't really get much versus the 6 shell gun, right? The 6 shell does very similar damage output, but just kind of does a much better job everywhere else. Don't get me wrong, I'm still going to try out the 12 shot, but that's probably not going to be the option that I'm going to be messing around with. Now, something else I should be saying is that we do have access to the Type 5 Heavy, and I figured I'd showcase that really quickly as well in case you wanted to see the Type 5. So we can see here the Type 5 Heavy. Also, let me wipe my nose really quick, it's just a little bit runny. There you go. But this is the Type 5 Heavy. As we can see, freaking huge. Armor-wise is actually pretty good. Better than I expected it to be. So if we compare the Type 5 Heavy to something like an E6 and we, load gold, this is what it's going to look like with Cali. So the lower plate's about 303. Pretty weak, but you can angle it, as you can see, and actually make that pretty strong. These little balls here, though, are very big weak spots, as we can see. If you don't have a lot of premium pen, you can shoot these balls. They're only about 240. Other weak spots we have are the flat plates on the upper plate. But in general, this is 360 mils thick. So if you're not running Cali, you're going to be looking at a very, very red plate there. This is upwards of 800, so you're not going to be able to pen that. And the turret's about 340. So what that means is mediums, if we swap out the E6 for something like a M48 Patton, loading gold, this is what it's going to look like in a medium. And if this vehicle's using gun depression and angling properly, like, it's going to be actually a very, very well armored vehicle, which is quite nice. I'm happy that Wargaming has decided to make the Type 5's armor actually pretty good. Not only that, it has pretty high alpha, 700 on the standard. If you're loading the gold, which has 221 mils of pen, you're going to be sitting at a whopping 800 damage per shot. But the gun is obviously really, really poor. 0.389 dispersion, so even if you're running refined, you're still sitting at 0.33. Its aiming time is not good at all. Its overall on-movement dispersion is pretty bad, so it sacrifices a lot. It only goes 27 kilometers per hour, making this the second slowest tank in Tier 10. So we'll have to see exactly what happens with the Type 5, but I'm actually really excited for this vehicle, even though Wargaming has decided to screw over the community and make it cost money and be a collector. It still does look really exciting, and you guys can let me know your personal feelings, comments, and opinions down below. Either way, hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and if you'd like to see more like it, I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye!